In today's episode, we bring you the ruthless murder of Becky Bliefnick, who was found seriously shot inside her Quincy, Illinois home in February this year. Quincy is known to be a quiet town along the Mississippi River and do not witness violent crimes often. Becky was killed in an execution style. Her dead body was discovered by her father on February 23 this year. She was a 41-year-old mother to 3 sons, aged 12, 10, and 5. People around were horrified that a young mother of 3 young boys could be fatally shot and killed in her own home. The kids were her world. Becky's older sister Sarah Riley lives in New York and was away on vacation with her husband, Brett Riley, when they got the call about Becky's death. Becky's sons were not at home at the time of the murder. They were staying with their father, Tim Bliefnick, about a mile away. Becky and Tim were in the process of getting divorced. When Tim couldn't reach Becky on the 23rd, he contacted her father. Her father says,
I ran up the stairs, and since she supposedly was sick, I went to the bedroom to see if she was laying down. Didn't see anything in her bedroom, went into the attached bathroom, and that's when I found her body lying on the floor. She looked like she was dead.
Police began investigating the matter, and it was found that the killer had broken into Becky's home by breaking an upstairs window in one of the children's rooms. Killer may have broken in the door violently. It seems Becky then ran into the bathroom and got shot. The time must have been around 1:11 in the morning, as it appears that Becky had tried to call 911 on her mobile phone. The phone was found behind the door. The neighbors heard nothing appeared to be stolen, but there was a strong evidence which pointed to a shoe print near the door. Also, found was 8 spent 9mm shell casings along with small pieces of plastic on near Becky's body. Detectives investigating at the crime scene learned that Becky's next-door neighbors, the Hymans, had installed a CC camera on the side of their house. They had the camera in place as there has been cases of car break-in attempts in the area. This CC camera was placed in a way that it could capture visuals along Becky's home too. The camera didn't capture anything on the night of the killing, but it did capture something unusual about 24 hours earlier. At 1:05 a.m., somebody could be seen walking towards the back of Becky's house, and it appeared as the same person was seen again about 48 minutes later, and he was now walking in the opposite direction. After going around the area investigating, officers came across more camera footages from other places too. And they could see that somebody was riding a bike towards Becky's house. Detectives felt it is the same person who was captured earlier in the immediate neighbor's camera. But with the available footage, it was pretty difficult to figure out the identity of the killer. The footage was not very clear. When Becky's sister Sarah learned of the murder, she said the only person that came to her mind as the prime suspect was Becky's estranged husband Tim. Becky and Tim Bliefnick were students at Quincy University where they met and fell in love. They eventually got married and started a family. Becky decided to be a stay-at-home mom, while Tim continued with his career. Initially, things were good between them. Listen to what her sister Sarah says.
She was very happy with their marriage for probably the first 5 years. And then, things started to change. He got progressively more manipulative and controlling, and he didn't do any of the work ever at the house.
So, when Becky decided to take up a job, the equation started to change between them. Then, in January 2021, after 11 years of marriage, it was Tim who went ahead and filed for the divorce. This is what her sister Sarah has to say.
She wanted to go to marriage counseling with him, and he refused.
Whatever the motive for the divorce might have been, one thing is for sure, things between the two had turned sour. So, soon Becky started raising her concerns over Tim's behavior. She would text her friends like, "He has screamed in my face, he shoved me in front of the kids, and has thrown things across the room." And she sent similar text to another friend, "I truly believe Tim has serious mental health problems, and he is becoming more vengeful and unpredictable." But then Tim says that it was Becky who was vengeful. It's also been confirmed that Tim filed for restraining order, but was turned down by the judge. Becky also sent this text to her sister Sarah: "If something ever happens to me, please make sure the number one person of interest is Tim." She made similar statements to friends too. Meanwhile, Becky too filed for an order of protection against Tim. Again, the order of protection was not granted. But later, a judge did order Tim and Becky to stay away from each other's residences except when exchanging kids. Interestingly, at Becky's behest, the judge also ordered Tim to return a 9mm handgun that Becky had gifted him in their happier days. Sarah too speaks about it.
Into, recreational shooting. She wanted that particular gun back because the gun was in her name.
But Becky could never get it back. Also, it was a 9mm handgun that was later used to kill her. Becky was killed 1 week before the divorce case was set to go to trial. And on March 13, 2023, just over 2 weeks after Becky's death, Tim Bliefnick was arrested and charged with her murder. Investigating officers found stacks of ALDI bags. It is believed that he used ALDI bags to fire through. It was done to muffle the sound or maybe just to collect the shell casings after the killing. Besides, Becky also didn't want her sons to be around Tim's father unsupervised. It seems Tim's father, Ray Bliefnick, allegedly had a history of perversion and abusing minor children many years earlier. Becky had sought an order of protection against Ray, but the judge denied this request. This was a grave matter of bitterness between Becky and Tim. Investigators also shared incidents of Tim searching Google for how to open my door with a crowbar, how to make a homemade pistol silencer, and how to clean gunpowder off your hands. Officers also presented strong evidence of spent shell casings found in Tim's home. An expert confirmed that 27 of these casings had been fired from the exact same gun used in the murder. Each firearm, like a gun, leaves its own marking on every shell casing that it fires. Judge Robert Adrian had this to say:
"Hey, Mr. Bliefnick, you researched this murder, you planned this murder, you practiced this murder, you broke into her house, and you shot her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 times. The court believes that the appropriate sentence would be natural life in prison."
Tim Bliefnick has not been allowed any contact with his kids since his arrest. He still has the option to appeal in higher courts. Tim's sentencing eventually brought a sense of relief to family and friends. However, it also meant that the 3 little boys will be now without both parents, and this is no celebration. Tim had the option of divorce and to move on. Becky would have been alive today, only if he could have thought about their young kids, only if he was calm enough not to do what he did. Remember, crime never pays.